This conference will now be recorded.
Hello friends, welcome to the SAP deep dive session on SAP Warehouse Management. Prior to the introduction of the SAP Warehouse Management, it is important to know what you mean by SAP Warehouse Management, how the warehouse management fits into supply chain management, what is logistics execution, how the logistics execution and the warehouse management are linked, and why we need to have the warehouse management, what is the difference between the IM and WM warehouse management, and a typical warehouse also. So this session will cover in detail about all these questions and the answers. In the end, we will be seeing the system demo for the warehouse management. Moving on to the objective of the SAP warehouse management. In order to understand and appreciate the importance and advantage of warehouse management, it is very much important to understand the concept of supply chain management. So that is nothing but the SCM. So we will be starting our course with the understanding of the concept of supply chain management. Then we will move on to the session where how the warehouse management fits into the supply chain management and what are the various advantage and the features of supply chain management as well as the warehouse management. Next, next we'll see the introduction to logistics execution, which include the process of shipping and transportation, and how the warehouse management is linked onto the shipping and transportation facilities that is provided by logistics execution. Then we'll see what you mean by IM, that is inventory management, as well as warehouse management, and what is the main difference between the IM and WM store relocation. Then we'll see the system demo on the basic navigation path of SAP Warehouse Management. Moving on to the introduction to supply chain management. A supply chain consists of all parties involved directly or indirectly in fulfilling a customer request. The supply chain not only includes the manufacturers and the suppliers, but also the transporters, warehouses, retails, and customers themselves. So, supply chain management includes the contribution from the entire parties which link the material from the customer from the raw material. So, these raw materials will be undergoing various phases of change during the process, and at the end only the system will be recognizing the end product for the customer. So supply chain management deals with the entire process of material that comes from the raw material till the end consumer. So there are various parties that are included in the supply chain management, which includes the raw material. That is a fundamental uh, thing, that element that is present in the supply chain management. Without the raw material, it is not possible to create a semi-finished product or the final product which can be distributed to the customers. Then we have the supplier. So we have another unit also known as manufacturer. So this raw material will be taken into and will be processed by the manufacturing department. Once the raw material is processed by the manufacturing department, this raw material will be changed to semi-finished product or the finished product. If the raw materials are moved only to the semi-finished product, there will be another cycle that will be run so that the manufacturing unit will be converting the semi-finished product to the main product. These raw materials are basically supplied to the manufacturing unit by the suppliers. So suppliers are the unit in the supply chain management which will accumulate all the raw materials which are needed for the manufacturing unit for the manufacturing of semi-finished product or the finished product. So basically we deals with the linking by which all the raw materials will be directly put on to the manufacturing by the supplier. There are various ways in which the materials can be obtained by the manufacturing. So this could be the direct manufacturing selling. That means that from directly the material will be obtained by the manufacturing unit from the supplier, or there can be special movement also. So that means special stocks. How the special stocks are managed is that there could be some other manufacturing teams like subcontract manufacturing teams which will be creating the materials for the main manufacturing unit. This could be the example of sub uh, contracting manufacturing. That means that the manufacturing plant itself will be creating and providing some of the raw materials or the semi-finished item to the some other manufacturing company, and which in turn will receive the final product or semi-finished product back from the other manufacturing unit. So the main manufacturing company will not be producing or creating the product, that is the end product, directly. Instead, they will be providing the materials to the subcontract plants, so that this subcontracting plant will be manufacturing the product for the main plant. Then the stocks itself, that means raw material itself, can be categorized into various types. That means the raw material can be the unrestricted stock. So unrestricted stock are the valuated stock that can be freely used in our warehouse system or the manufacturing unit. So the material become unrestricted or the standard stock when it meet the all the quality regulations and all the quality check has been carried out in the material and system, and the where a quality inspector satisfies that material is ready for the use, then the material become unrestricted material. There could be another type of stock category like quality inspection stock. In the quality inspection stock, what basically happens is this material is also valuated stock. So that means that this material is also counted. But the main difference between the quality inspected and unrestricted is that the quality inspected stock cannot be used directly for the creation of final product or semi-finished product. This item cannot be provided to the subcontract manufacturing centers for the manufacturing as well. So this quality inspected product will not be satisfying the specification that are required for the manufacturing of the final product. So in those kind of material, we will be processing the quality inspection stock, or we will be doing the customization or doing the enhancement in the quality inspection stock, so that we can convert the quality inspection stock to the unrestricted stock. Then the other type of raw materials could be the blocked raw materials. Blocked raw materials are those raw materials which are blocked for the usage of any particular usage. So this could the raw materials could be of blocked due to n number of reasons. For example, there could be some damages that comes onto the actual material, that means the raw material, that makes the raw material unfit for the particular usage, or the ingredients present in the raw material may not be in the sufficient amount, or it may exceed the particular limitation that is provided in the spec of the material, so it will result in the raw material unfit for the particular usage. Once we have the raw materials unfit for the particular usage for the creation, then we mark the raw material as the blocked raw material. This blocked raw material can also be converted into unrestricted and can be used for the normal usage. So once the material is not in the unrestricted, and once the material is blocked for the usage, this manufacturing unit cannot be able to use the material directly for the manufacturing activities. Instead, the manufacturing unit will go ahead and do modification for the blocked material, so that the blocked material item will be used for the unrestricted purpose. There could be another stock category like returned from the customer stock category. So these are the items that are being returned by the customers due to n number of reasons. This item may not fit the uh, satisfaction of the customer regulation, or there could be multiple instances which fit the process.
This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
So in this situation, the material that are available with the uh, material that have been received from the customer need to be checked for the all the purpose, then it need to be revised or customized so that material should be available for particular usage. Then there could be different ways in which we store the material or manufacture the material. We can directly manufacture the material in our manufacturing unit. Once the manufacturing is done, we can store the material in our warehouse. There is a concept of third-party warehouse management system, where instead of storing the material in our warehouse, we will be keeping the material in the third-party warehouse system or the third-party warehouse location, so that the manufacturing plant will not have any responsibility for the storing of the material in the particular plant. Then there could be instances where the consignment stock is also there. So in the consignment stock, what happens is that there could be vendor consignment. In the vendor consignment, we will place the material in the vendor location, and the ownership of the material will be the uh, will be vendor, and whenever we are using the material which are placed in the vendor, we need to provide the amount or liability to the vendor. So like this way, there are various ways in which we can store the material in the warehouse, and there are different type of stocks availability also. So the various elements in the supply chain management include the distributors and customers and the end consumers. From the manufacturing unit, it is not directly coming to the customers, it is going to the distributors, wholesalers, then it comes to the end consumers. So in all the units of the supply chain management, it is very much required to store the material. So at one particular instances, there is requirement to store the material in a particular warehouse. So instead of so whenever we are dealing with a supplier or manufacturer or wholesalers, distributors, so in any of the elements, it is very much important to store the material. For storing the material, we can have both IM as well as warehouse management. So in this session, we'll be dealing more about what is IM as well as WM, level of supply chain management. Focus on supply chain management. In this supply chain management, organization will always focus on being cost effective by using different method as applicable. For example, by looking for alternative methods or material so that manufacturing costs are low, by reducing cycle time of operation, by blocking less capital in inventory, that is keeping inventory under control, by reducing turnaround time for delivery against a customer order so that the product is available on time to customer. Main focus or central principle of supply chain management is to make it very much cost effective. There could be there are various ways in which the supply chain elements control the cost of the material. Then so keeping the inventory or managing the stock of a material becomes very much cost of will be incurring very much cost for any of the unit. So in order to prevent the cost of the manufacturing and to have the storing of material, the warehouse inventory plays a key important role. So there are various ways in which we can keep the stock under control. Some of the companies like Toyota will be has introduced Kanban process so that they will be having zero stock or very less stock for the inventory process. So the main concept behind the inventory process or zero stock is that the materials will not be available that much in the warehouse for the whenever the operation is not uh, carried out. So whenever they want to have the operation with any of the material, then they will be having the material just in time system, that is the JIT system. So the main cost incurred in during the managing the stock, that means holding the stock or categorizing the stock will not be there. So the too much of money that is involved in storing the stock is also reduced by reducing the stock amount in the warehouse. The cost in the warehouse can be regularized by having the constant check and the physical inventory process carried out in the warehouse management system. So whenever we are carrying out the warehouse management system properly in the supply chain management, the amount of stock, that means the requirement of stock, can be reduced. There could be multiple instances where the stock can be reduced to a maximum extent. That means that we can always have the stock in the system as well as in the physical to be same. So if there is any differences between the stock in the system as well as stock in the warehouse, then there could be instances that the material may not be actually planning properly, so that the material, extra amount of material will be available in the supply chain system. So it is the duty of the all the elements of the supply chain management, so that the inventory level should be kept all the times in an optimized way, so that too much of material is not consumed or kept in the warehouse as ideal level. So keeping the managing the stock also pull too much of uh, economical loss for all the elements in the supply chain management. So it should be very much necessary to manage the stock control and to have the proper material requirement planning in your manufacturing unit as well as your storage unit, so that you can have the optimized amount of material in your warehouses. So in this session, I'll be explaining what are the various ways in which we can focus, by which we can reduce the amount of warehouse management in the supply chain unit. Moving on to warehouse management. So what do you mean by warehouse management? Warehouse is basically a commercial building for storing of the goods. So warehouse is nothing but the physical storage area where we store the goods. The principal operation of a warehouse is to receiving, that is getting the product, and shipping out the product whenever needed. So warehouse includes the operation of inbound as well as outbound. So in the inbound as well as outbound, we need to make sure that the material are being properly tracked and traced whenever we are inputting the material onto the warehouse or taking away the material from the warehouse. For in the warehouse management system, we have various strategies and the controls that are being in place, so that we can have the efficient tracking and tracing of the material that are being in, input onto the warehouse, and also the material that are being picked from the warehouse, as well as the material which are being moved within the warehouse. So while dealing with the warehouse, it is very much important to understand where actually the material is being placed, so that we should be having the clear idea from where the material has to be picked and where the material has to be placed. So when dealing with warehouse management system, there are two important terms. One is put away and other is stock removal. So put away is the process by which we place the material onto the particular storage bin. So while putting away the material onto the particular storage bin, it is very much important to understand from where the material has to pick and from to where the material has to place. That means the from and to destinations are very much important while working with the warehouse management system. So in the warehouse management system, how we work is that we manage the plant and the storage location into a particular warehouses, and in the warehouse we manages what are the various storage types and the storage sections and the bins where exactly the material is being kept.
This conference will now be recorded.
So now whenever we deal with the warehouse system, the entire physical structure, that is the warehouse complex, will be mapped to a warehouse number. Then, in order for the proper tracking and tracing of the materials inside the warehouse, we'll be dividing the entire warehouse into various storage types. So, storage types are nothing but the physical and logical subdivision of warehouse, which is characterized by the various usage. So, we divide the entire warehouse into various storage types. So, the storage types can be of different ways, like it can be high rack storage, open storage, shelf storage, and everything. We'll be dealing with all these storage types and all the configuration in detail in the subsequent lessons. Then after that, once the material is being stored, the entire storage type are internally divided into various storage sessions. The storage sessions are basically the division of storage types. The storage session in turn basically consists of various bins which have similar characteristics. So the various storage section can be fast moving area. Fast moving areas are those materials which are placed in together so that the velocity of the material, that means movement of material in the warehouse, is more. So in this particular instance, we keep the fast moving area in the front end of the warehouse. Then we have the slow moving areas which are basically kept in the rear end of the warehouse. Then there could be another material like heavy items. This material might be placed in the lower end of the warehouse. Then there could be lightweight items which are placed in the higher areas of warehouse. These are the multiple ways in which we keep the material, and we manages the storage section. So storage sections are nothing but the internal division of the storage types. Then we have the actual concept of bins. So bin is nothing but the actual location where we keep the product. So bin is actually represented by the coordinates. So we represent the bin by the three coordinates x, y, and z coordinates, so that we will be able to represent where actually the material present. If we know where actually the material present, then it would be easy for us to track and trace the material. That means the warehouse operator can directly put the material onto the warehouse, and during the put away process or in the picking process also, the warehouse operator will be able to pick the material directly from the particular bin. Then most important concept in the warehouse is the count. In the warehouses, we are not actually looking the material that are placed in the bin. We are actually represent all the materials by the count numbers. So count is nothing but the actual quantity of material that is being placed onto the warehouse. So if we actually know what count is being placed in a particular bin, so it will be very much easy for the track and trace of the material in the particular bin. So whenever we are dealing with the warehouse management, we need to be very sure about the concept of this warehouse management, which include the understanding of what is warehouse complex, what do you mean by the storage type, what do you mean by the storage sections, how the storage sessions are divided into various bins, how the bins can be created in the storage session, and what are the main fundamental principles of count. As I explained about the count is nothing but the actual quantity of material that are being placed in the warehouse management. So when a count is being created, when the as per the material movement. So when we place any material in the bin, the count will be generated, and when we pick the material from the particular bin, the count will be deleted directly from the system. So warehouse management include all the process of in-housing as well as shipping out the product. So warehouse in the manufacturing unit, the warehouse will be dealing both the in-house as well as out-house process. So when you deal with the in-house, it can also be categorized into it categorized into two types. That means the inbound movement of material into the warehouse can be from two types. So one, it can be from the external customers. There could be external vendors who will be providing the material onto your warehouses. So upon receiving the material will be stored onto your warehouses. In this scenario, what basically happens is you will be creating the purchase order for the storage of material. Then once the material is ready uh, uh, to ship by the vendor, it will be shipped out from the vendor. Once the material reaches your warehouses, then you will be doing the good receipt for the purchase order. So while doing the good receipt to the purchase order, you will be specifying where the material has to put away. That means where the material has to place in the warehouse complex. So this is the deals of the put away process from the external customer. There could be internal scenario for the inbound process as well. For example, you will be receiving the semi-finished product or the finished product from your own internal manufacturing area. So the material that is semi-finished or the finished product which are manufactured from the internal uh, company will be put away onto your location. So put away of the internal item is also carried out by using the warehouse management. That means you will be having an internal manufacturing company who will be creating the material, so that you, after the production of the material, that means it could be the production of semi-finished product or the finished product. So this product should be put onto your warehouses. So this is also carried out by using the warehouse management. When we deals about the outbound process, there could be the two outbound process. One is there will be the normal sales order scenario, so that your plant will be committed to provide the material to the external vendors. So in that sales order cycle, your plant will be creating the sales order, and you will be picking the material from the warehouses and will be providing the material to the end consumers, that is the your clients, as per the regulations. So in this time, the you have various strategies that are placed in the warehouse management system, which helps in the proper picking of material in from your warehouses. Once you have the proper picking of material from your warehouse, the material will be actually picked and it will be placed onto the containers for the proper dispatch and the outbound process. There could be internal outbound scenario in which you will be providing the raw material or the semi-finished item to your internal manufacturing unit. That is your production planning area. So you will be providing the materials to the internal production planning area, so that the material will be available onto the internal company as per the regulations and need. So the you will be you will be storing the raw materials and the semi-finished product so that it can be provided to your internal manufacturing unit. That's a production planning as per the necessities. Once they manufacture and produce the material, that means the finished product, this product will be put on to your warehouses as per the needs. These are the basic concepts or inbound and outbound process in the warehouse manager. So another important part of maintaining a good warehouse is keeping inventory of what products are presently in the warehouse, that has been shipped and what has been received. So this means that whenever you are dealing with the warehouse management, you need to have the proper inventory management. That means you need to be make sure that the total quantity of item that is being in-house and the total quantity of the material that is being outer should be counted. So the stock should be in a counted way and the stock items present in the both plant as well as in the system should be same. So once the material is being saved, you can have the proper material requirement planning carried out in your system so that you can have the proper inventory management for the your plant. Then what do you mean by warehouse management? So warehouse management refers to the science of operating a warehouse in general. So how do you deal with the in-house process in a warehouse, and how do you deals with the outbound process of a warehouse? How do you deals with the movement within a warehouse? These three questions should be answered when you deal with the warehouse management. The need for good warehouse management stems from the need of organization to be able to receive and store goods in the best possible order, to be able to ship them as required, manage inventory effectively such that there is always a record of what is available in the warehouse and where it is available. So when you have the proper warehouse management, it will be easy to understand to have the record of what is available in your warehouse management system and where actually the material is available. Once you know the information like what is available and where is available, then it is very much easy for the warehouse operator and the warehouse controller to categorize and place the movement so that it can be used for the optimized efficiency. That means warehouse can be used for the optimized efficiency and can be used to reduce the unnecessary movement of material within the warehouses. So warehouse management basically deals with three main concepts. It deals with the in-house movement of material. So during the in-house movement of material, we have the some concept known as strategies and activities that are placed in the backend so that material will be put away as per the requirement and in the optimized way. That means the system itself will categorize the where the material has to be placed and how the material has to be placed. Then when we deal about the outbound process, we have some categorization as well as the strategies that is placed behind the scenes. That means the configuration in the warehouse management system, which deals with the proper managing of the goods outbound from the warehouse. It can be to the end consumers or to the internal customers. There could be another situation where you will be moving the material within the warehouse. So proper tracking of the material within the warehouse is also useful to understand and utilize the material in a highly efficiency way. And the unnecessary movement of the material within the warehouse and the unnecessary effort of the warehouse operator can be reduced if you are working with the warehouse manager. Introduction to logistics execution. In order to understand and work with warehouse management, it is very much needed to understand what you mean by logistics execution. So, logistics execution is basically an umbrella which categorizes all the process. So, logistics execution is a component of logistics in SAP R3. This area includes the material management, sales and distribution, logistics execution, production, which controls the logistics process. So, logistics execution includes the process and the activities of material management, sales and distribution, that is S&D, logistics execution, and the production, which control the overall logistics process. On a brief about SAP R3 is that SAP R3 refers to the real-time system. R3 refers to the three level of architecture that is present in the SAP system. The three layers include the presentation layer, then the application layer, then the database layer. The presentation layer includes the layer that comes as your SAP GUI. So that means that the layer that in which you can see the material is referred to the SAP presentation layer. Then the application layer. Application layer are the layer which is just behind the presentation layer, which include all your codes and logic. The system will execute the application layer and the various application so that it will be user friendly for you to do a particular operation. So that particular layer denotes your application layer. Then you have the next layer known as database layer. In the database layer, you have various tables where you store the materials. So whenever you want to have the material picked from the database layer, you have the materials and the various query, that is the database query that is written, so that it will fetch the data from the database. It will move through the application layer and it will come and display onto your presentation layer. So all these layers are interdependent so that you can have a flexible work in the SAP R3 system. So in SAP R3 4.8, logistic execution was included in SAP R3 in order to group together the existing sub-functions for logistics execution and to further develop this group of functions. So logistics execution was introduced in the version SAP R3 4.5a. Further that you have various versions of logistic execution and warehouse management. Now we have moved into the era of extended warehouse management as well as in the HANA warehouse management. So as I told, where a logistic execution, that is LE, is an umbrella unit which basically contains three divisions, that is the warehouse management, shipping and transportation. So logistic execution basically consists of warehouse management, that is LEWM, then the shipping LESHP, and the transportation LETRA. The warehouse management was taken from the material management MM, and shipping and transportation is from the SD. These organizational changes are reflected in both application menu and the structure of customizing. So logistic execution include the material from the MM as well as SD. So in MM we have the warehouse management, and in shipping and transportation we have the SDs. So this is a umbrella module which influence the activities from the MM as well as sales and distribution module. Logic execution provides all the functions for the most part or the cross industry basis requirement to map the execution of logistics process. Essentially, it is always deals with the goods issue and the good receipt process of various degrees of complexity. So you in the future session you will be seeing the what are the advantages and how we are doing the various degree of complexities of warehouse activities in the logistics part. So now we introduce to you the difference between the IM and WM. Basically, in the inventory management, the warehouse operator can get the overall management of the stock details. So in IM level, so basically the IM and WM is same. That means we are storing the material in the IM as well as in the WM. So if we store the material in the IM level, it means that the warehouse operator will be having an idea that the material is present in and around in the storage location. So there he may not be having the understanding where actually the material is being placed. But when you deal with the warehouse management system, you will be knowing where actually the material are being placed, and you will be able to track the exact location where the material are being placed. The uh, the tracking and tracing of the material is possible by the use of the concept bin. Bin refers to the actual location where the material are being placed. So once the material are being placed in the bin, it will be easy for the warehouse operator and the warehouse controller to understand where actually the material is. So during the process of inbound as well as outbound, we have various strategies that are being placed so that we'll be having the knowledge from where the material is being uh, placed and from where the material is being picked. So by this scenario, we can understand by the usage of WM system will help in the exact knowledge of where the material is being placed and from where the material is being pulled out. Now we'll see in the system how we can categorize and see what are the basic navigation of the SAP WM process. We'll log on to the SAP system. This is the basic SAP system that you will be seeing it. So the basic understanding is that if you want to see the transaction, you can click over here and see the transaction. This is a session manager and the program name is this one. This is the user, that is myself, and the client is 800 and this system is EHP 800, and I'll show the transaction program all the times. If you want to have the navigation to the SAP Warehouse Management System, you need to click on to the SAP menu. Then in the SAP menu, you have the node for logistics and you have the node for logistics execution. This all the warehouse activities are present in the logistics execution. In the logistic execution, you have the internal warehouse process where all the materials and the warehouse activities are being taken and categorized. You can deal with the inbound process, that means the inbound good receipt of the material, and as well as the outbound process, that means outbound issue of the outbound deliveries. So here the system also deals with the direct store delivery, the inbound process, the outbound process, that means issue process from your warehouse. Then it deals with the cross docking, the transportation cross docking, internal warehouse process, that means what all things are there inside the warehouse. When we deal with the RFID devices, we link that with the mobile data entry, where we create the warehouse operator by using the transaction LRFMD, and by using various transaction like LM00, we can categorize the mobile operation. The bins and stock refers to the actual area where we are keeping the materials. If we want to display the empty storage bins, you can use the transaction LS04, list of empty storage bins, by using the transaction LX01. If you want to see the bin status report, you can go with the transaction LX03. If you want to see the list of fixed storage bins, you can go with the transaction LX29. These are the various reports that can be available in the warehouses. That means bin stock material LS24. This is a most important transaction that will be used, that is LS26, which is used to determine the total stock per material in the warehouse level. If you want to see the total stock of material per inventory manager, you have the transaction like MMB. If you are dealing with hazardous materials, you need to go ahead with this transaction. If you want to see only a single storage bin, you need to go ahead with the LS03N. If you want to create a single storage bin, you need to do with the transaction LS01N. Then if you want to see the storage unit, you need to go with the transaction LS33, and if you want to view the count, it is LS23. If you want to block the storage bins, that means the bin block can happen due to n number of reasons. This could be the reasons like if you are doing the physical inventory process, that means you are checking whether the total quantity of material in the IM is same as the WM. So in this particular process, whether all the materials are being checked or counted, for the counting process and all, you can block the storage bin for multiple purpose. Or there could be many business scenario where you will be blocking the particular bin for the particular usage. Then we have the introduction to the transfer requirement. Transfer requirement is basically a request for the movement of material from the source storage bin to the destination at a point of time. It is created by using the transaction LB01. So if you want to change the transfer requirement, you can change it by using the transaction LB02, and if you want to modify it, you can change it. You can use the transaction LB02. If you want to display it, you can go with the transaction LB03. If you want to uh, just display the uh, transfer requirement for a storage type, it is the transaction LB10. If you want to display what all transfer requirement are present for the material, it is LB11. So these are the transaction code. So there could be instances where you need to proceed with the posting changes. That means that you can specify whether the material need to be moved from one location to another or change the stock category. That means transfer posting process in the IM. So the transfer posting in the WM is carried out by using the transaction LU01. That means you are changing the stock category. The stock category of the material could be of four types. It can be unrestricted, it can be blocked, it can be a quality inspection, or it can be customer returns. If you want to display or change the posting change, you can go with the transaction LU02. Stock transfer means that if you actually want to move the stock from one storage bin to another, you need to proceed with the transfer order. So transfer order is nothing but the instruction that is used to modify the movement of material from one bin to another. So we can create the transfer order by various means. If you are directly want to create the transfer order, we can use the transaction LT01. If you directly want to create from the stock list, you can use the transaction LT10. If you want to create the transfer order from the with respect to storage unit, you can go ahead with the transaction code LT07 and all. If you want to display the transfer order, you can go with the transaction LT21 for the single document. If you want to have the display of the transfer order for the storage type, it is LT22. Similar to the transfer requirement display, we have the display of transfer orders with the transaction LT24, 26, 27 for the material storage bin and the storage unit. So if you want to go ahead and print the transfer order, you can print the transfer order by using the using the transaction LT31. So if the transfer order for the single storage unit, you can go ahead with the transaction code LT32. You can then confirm the transfer order. That means you can confirm that you have moved the material by using the confirmation of the transfer order by using the T code LT12. Now we'll see the physical inventory process. Physical inventory process is basically used in order to check if there is any difference in the system inventory and the physical warehouse inventory. If there is any inventory difference, we need to make sure that materials in the system and the physical should be same. So there are various type of physical inventories that we are carrying out. There could be annual inventory, there could be annual inventory, there could be continuous inventory, as well as there could be cyclic inventory. So annual inventory is the process in which we carry out the inventory process once in a year. Then the second is the continuous inventory. Continuous inventory physical inventory is the process by which we carry out the uh, inventory arrangement or the inventory process throughout in a year. Then the last is the cyclic inventory. So in the cyclic inventory, what we do is that we categorize the material as per the categorization or the velocity of usage. That means it could be A, B, or C. That means that we categorize the material as A valued items, which is fast moving items. That means it is having low value, but it will be fast moving. And the B item, it will be medium valued and the medium velocity item. C are those items which are very precious item, which are not moving very frequently in the system. So like this, we can have all the things in the internal warehouse process. So the path for the same, I will explain once again. In the SAP menu, we need to go to the logistics, we need to go to the logistic execution, and we need to go to the internal warehouse process and all the other master data and everything. So if you don't want to move with this transaction, that means if you don't want to execute this kind of navigation, you can directly move on to the SAP WM screen by using the transaction code LLVS. Okay, I'll just display that LLVS as well. So we can directly go to the transaction LLVS. So if you are dealing with the warehouse management, so we have the WM things only over here. If you want to see the master data, you can come over here and see the master data. These are the transfer requirement. That means it is just the instruction to move the material from the one source to the destination. Then we have the transfer order for the movement of material, then physical inventory posting, then the posting changes, as well as for the environment. So this is the simple way in which we can do the transaction. Hope you have understood and hope you have enjoyed and understand the importance of warehouse management. In the future course of session, we'll be going in detail about all these sessions. Thank you for watching this video.